crypto market has not moved much. We're still close to $1.1 trillion, but the price is down. So if we actually look through the price of a lot of different assets, what you're watching is that short term we came to the downside. But we do have some hope. The price action is showing you a divergence. The price is coming down, the RSI is slowly moving to the upside. So we can actually anticipate a possible move from here back to the upside. But does that equation change the entire trend? Does that equation bring in a lot of relief for all of us? That's what we need to understand. If we do bounce from here, is that actually going to bring a lot of relief into this equation? Because you're watching Bitcoin, it broke through this level. If it bounces back, what should we look for? Bitcoin dominance is still pulling in money from the market. So when money is coming into crypto, you're watching that's going into Bitcoin, majority of it. At a time when you understand that, okay, XRP is becoming one of that asset which has huge upside potential, yes, timing becomes a huge problem. But at the same time, when you focus more on the fundamentals and then align yourself with the technicals based on the thought process of timing, we all understand the market. The market is more than timing. It is about time in the market. Because one thing is true about all of these financial markets. Short term, it's a voting machine. But on the long run, it's a weighing machine. That's where the weight of all these fundamentals coming out each and every single day for XRP will matter. As the price goes up, a lot of people will be surprised. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. We're going through a ton of these crypto assets, trying to give you guys the best idea about what that asset is doing, and there is a lot of it. We're going through hundreds of assets. Because right now, I think it's a time for you and me to understand what this asset is doing. If you are in just one asset, that's easy for you. That makes it easy. You can just study and focus on one asset. If you have 10, 15, 20 assets in your portfolio, you want to make sure majority is trending higher. You want to make sure those who are showing you a red flag is a tiny portion of it. If not, you have to think what you should do. So before we jump into the details, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. And if you are looking for these kind of updates on the right asset at the right time, please look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So while we jump into the technical side of it, we need to first understand, yes, this is a short-term chart. We are watching how price is evolving. We literally dropped all the way from 0.51, came close to 0.47. Now, remember, a while back, when the price action was trending like this, we shared the idea of watch for this level because the price action is showing you a pattern like this. In yesterday's video, we discussed about that clearly. And this was that breakout. You came back down. So you actually reached somewhat close to your support level. So I'm like, okay, that short-term scenario is now done. Now, if that is your support and you see a little bit of bounce, what does that equate to? I would actually put in the idea that, okay, there is something like this which is now becoming a possibility. We have seen this in this asset over and over again, whether it's on the short term, medium term, macro, micro, whatever you do, you get these every single time in this asset and you go to the upside. So why the hell should it be different this time? You can actually ask that and debate, but price action in the market kind of gives you an idea where we are headed. Great. That's a daily chart for XRP. Now we go on a weekly chart and you're like, okay, we still have a couple more days to end this week and we're here. We want to actually see how things evolve. We are still here. Great. On a monthly, that's where we have to be focused. Because I would personally argue the fact that this monthly candle close is going to be important. We really don't want it to actually break below the range of 0.45 and close it there. Even if it goes back down and then bounce back up, it doesn't actually matter much. But if you do bounce off and break the 200-day moving at the 21-day moving average on a monthly, that's going to be extremely bullish, because right now on a weekly, you are getting rejected at the 21-day moving average, which is not the most bullish thing which you would look for in the market, but that's what it is right now. So if you're watching for any big news about the market, one of the biggest supports which you're looking for is here. But again, we've already watched the amount of divergence coming into the market, the amount of supports being created in the market. Now, this actually depends more on the Bitcoin. If Bitcoin come back up to this level, say 27,250 or somewhat just about 27, and get rejected, that is a concern. Now, yes, that's a 1 hour chart. It's super zoomed in. But to give you guys the right idea, I think that's required. Because if you get rejected, then you're aiming 25K again. Now, it's not something new. We have visited that level just last month and the month in like June and all. We have done that several times. But if we do get rejected, that's the case. Now, what if we break into that trending part and then break through the upside? Now, that's something we'll have to talk about, but this is important. Now, that's a 4-hour chart. For sure, you'll have to look at the daily, the weekly, and the macro charts before you actually create an opinion. Right now, you have a scenario where the price is below the weekly 21-day moving average. That is not the best thing to actually see. But the weekly close is what actually matters, because we have done this in the past. We went through to the downside and came back up. We have done this again at different scale in the past. So we need to actually make sure that we are getting something and closing about the range of 27,200 for the week. If it does that, that's significant bullish momentum coming into the market. Now, you come back here and you're actually looking at this, putting the argument, okay, we do have this as a trend line. We broke that to the downside. So the pattern which they formed here was kind of that. Okay, you're going to go to the downside and you're doing that. Now, if that means there is a lot of bulls entering the market trying to defend it, or it's like a lot of sellers trying to push it through, we're like, okay, I understand that. But when you go on a daily, this is something you should keep in mind. Let's reduce the noise. This is what we are looking at. There is a possibility where the price can actually come back down, retest this range. What is that? 26,400. Say somewhere just about 26,000. That doesn't look bearish for my eyes, because all that you're doing is a retest, but sometimes these retests can be scary. Sometimes these can be really scary, right? It does make a lot of panic before it actually go back up. So price does these things every now and then, but the question is, if you are levered and highly levered, that kind of brings a lot of panic. Whenever the price drops a little bit, you are scared to death because you do have a levered position. So if you are going in for leverage, try to keep that low. Maybe a 1x, 2x, 3x, that's more. If you go for 10, 20, 50, you should know what you're doing, and most likely you should be playing on a shorter horizon. Because on a shorter horizon, if you're doing that, keep in mind, whenever you get a break above the moving average, that kind of gives you an idea which the direction the price is going. So right now, what we are watching is something similar. So if you zoom in on Bitcoin here, Bitcoin price action suggests that, okay, we are trying to give a double bottom. I'm trying to break above the 21-day moving average on an hourly chart. That's too close. You're zoomed in. You're watching where the trend is changing. So the time you broke that to the downside, you got retested and rejected, formed a double top. Okay, now you are getting that as a resistance. But right now, if you do break that, which we have confirmed, the hourly candle has not closed yet, so we're waiting for that. Now that's going to come in like 10 minutes. So once you get that, now what you're watching for is another trend back to the upside. Now zoom out and look at this. All that the price is doing is trending inside this range. If it actually breaks back higher, now that should be watched as a bullish signal. See, it depends from individual to individual, but let me ask you this question. If the price action is pulling in a pattern like this, making that level as a support, what are you watching? For me, I would actually argue that this is a trend which we went to the upside, and this is the consolidative pattern and we'll go up. Why am I saying that? We saw something similar here. The price actually went to the upside, and then what happened? You went into this, which was a corrective scenario where again a lot of different people were calling for the downside of 20,000, 15,000 like that. But eventually what happened? The price broke to the upside. It moved from that 26,000 all the way up to 28,500. Now that's not a sky high movement, but it still shows the significance of bulls. It still shows that there is a trend being formed. Yes, it's not the perfect trend line. What you're watching is a significant movement to the upside with a lot of standard deviation. For sure, there's a lot of manipulation happening. If you think that there is going to be a lot of ETFs where a big institution like BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, all of them are actually going to give you Bitcoin, they want to buy it right now before they give it to you. If they want to make profit, either they put in a big, thick spread or they buy at very lower end and initiate the ETF as soon as the price goes up and then give you. That's where they make a lot of money. So the market making system is like that. You cannot actually go against it for the time being because that's what we have. Otherwise, you're on an exchange buying this asset yourself and you need to be familiar with all the technical stuff of crypto. If you are a new guy here, you will have to take the time and learn how things work. Now, jumping back onto the XRP side of things. When you zoom in, there's all that you're watching. Yeah, this is a short-term chart. You're looking for some divergence. If you're trading, that becomes super important. But XRP is not the asset which kind of gives you a lot of ROI on trading. Because XRP is that asset which pops crazy when it starts popping. Remember, whenever it pops, it's like 1 or 2 weekly candles and that's it. It's done. In the meantime, you're peacefully waiting, where the market is beating you every single day with emotions, the psychology, and all of that. So what we are looking at is a time like that. We did get some big movement. We are coming back below the moving average. We retested that, and for a moment here, it felt like we're getting rejected. We're going back to the downside. So something similar is happening here. We want to see how the weekly candle closes, because the fact that this showed you there is a reversal and that showed you a huge support, retesting that and bouncing just will make sure that's an Adam and Eve pattern. So for those who are not familiar with that, understand it's something like this where the price does this kind of a reversal. Now, we have seen that multiple times in this asset where it does that and then bursts through. So if it does that again, it's kind of like, okay, that's cool, that's great. These are all like, different reversal signals. Whenever the market does that, if that asset is doing that couple of times, then you're like, okay, in the recent past, maybe it's the algorithm, maybe it's the traders, maybe it's the institutions who are involved, like to go through this stuff. Or it's just, supply is increasing, demand is not there, the price is dropping. At one point, demand comes through and then try to overtake the supply. But then again, it gets saturated, come back down. But next time when it come back down at a higher level than the last low, demand is coming more. Meaning this is all algorithm. Most of them trade with algorithm. The big guys, the institutions, they do have that. So that's why you're watching all these being repeatedly happening in the market. Now, that kind of gives us a little bit more in advantage side, because we understand that the macro has changed. We understand that we broke that, we are retesting, we got momentum, now we are retesting that range. It's good to watch that the price is doing something like this. But when we follow that trend as much as possible, we're like, we broke that to the downside, we retested that, we're getting rejected. But the fact that this range has acted as a strong support resistance zone in XRP for an extended period of time makes that range interestingly important. Why? Because after that, the range which we had is here. We saw that acting as a support, then as a resistance, then as a support. So why should this one be different, right? So we don't want to actually go in and say this time it's actually different. Instead, we would say if we hit a level from the downside and that's pushing us to the downside, that's a resistance. But if we are doing that in an opposite term, say we come from the upside and hit a range and then it's kind of holding the price, that's a support. So we want to actually see that the buyers enter into this asset at that level. But on the macro side, if you go look at the current banking system, why things are moving, all the fundamentals of this asset, this is a place where I will go super bullish. Now, I can be wrong, I can be right. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm giving you my thought process, because if you see a divergence, you take your profits and run out of the asset. But as of now, say you go on a daily. Let's actually just be as clean to the chart as possible and just look at what the price action is showing you. Which side do you see a divergence? Do you see a negative divergence or do you see a positive divergence? For me, it's a positive divergence, which is forming here, which is a bullish divergence. For me, I would actually put that argument and say the price is going down, the RSI is going up. That means I'm watching for a lot of bullish momentum. Yes, there are times when you come back down to retest that range and then go back up. So if that's happening here, I'm more than happy to watch the price bounce back up. So again, guys, if you received value for your time, please do smash that like button. And if you are looking for updates like this on a lot of different assets, we're right now going through an Ask for TA session. And if you want to join that party, look for all the assets which you really want. This link can help you a lot. So if you haven't hit that like button yet, please do consider doing that. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.